Fish and golf with first blood. All right. Good morning, Patriots. How we doing today? It's a Monday morning. I hope you had a great weekend and you're ready to get the week started. So this morning we're going to be talking about the new controversy. Joe Biden's fire sale. Everything must go. Okay, so it looks like the Biden administration is, in the words of the New York Post, quietly clearing out all of the quietly clearing away the border wall parts for auction ahead of Trump's second term. The Biden administration is reportedly spending its final weeks quietly clearing away unused southern border wall materials to put up for auction, a move characterized by some lawmakers as an apparent ploy to sabotage President-elect Donald Trump's goal to secure the U.S.-Mexican border. An apparent ploy. Oh, that's the wrong button. An apparent ploy, they say. Morning, Megan. Good morning, boys. So an apparent, transparent maneuver. Obviously, what's happening is Joe Biden is trying to sabotage the incoming Trump presidency. So, what is my evidence to that effect? Well, despite the constant messaging around this idea of a peaceful transfer of power, let me remind you, the Democrats, as much as they liked, January 6th was the worst day since 9/11. I'm sorry. I believe Donald Trump's first inauguration was after 9/11. So let's not forget. Oh, okay. Damn. Patrick just joined and broke my train of thought. There was a tech issue this morning, so there might be double feeds out there, and I apologize for that. There's nothing I can do about it right now. We're kind of stuck with what we got. So hopefully everybody finds their way over to the correct thread. And that might hurt my numbers this morning a bit. But let me get back to it. What's my evidence? What's my evidence for the claim that it's obviously interference? And okay, so you got the January 6th claim, worst day since 9/11. No buildings were set fire on January 6th. The Patriot protesters at January 6th did not set the Capitol on fire. Now, you go back just a little bit, just a little more than 6 months prior to that, you've got the May 29th insurrection, where a bunch of leftists went to the White House and to the church across the St. John's, across the street from the church, I believe it is. And they set fire to the president's church. Those are the people we're dealing with. They went and set fire to the president's church. They set fires to police stations and federal buildings and businesses all across the country. And during Donald Trump's inauguration, they rioted and set fires around Washington, D.C., lest we forget. Also, let's not forget that Hillary Clinton still today, despite all the noise about, Trump supporters are election deniers and they don't believe that elections are fair. And hey, we don't. That's a fair claim. I have some serious questions about the 2020 election. Some very serious questions. You know what's funny about the 2016 election? Donald Trump won that election, and we knew that night that he had won. Right? We didn't have to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks for people to finish counting ballots so that we could know Donald Trump won the election in 2016. But we did have to wait weeks and weeks and weeks in 2020 to be told that Biden had won the election. Never happened before. Never done that shit before. Right? But, no, we respect the process, they tell us. we're respecting the process. We're going to have a peaceful transfer of power. That's what the Biden cronies are telling us all over the place. Oh yeah, we're not happy with the outcome, but it is the outcome in a free and fair election, and we have to respect the process. Bullshit. They're posturing. They're telling you that because, quite frankly, they know they got caught. Peaceful transfer of power? We haven't had a peaceful transfer of power from Democrat to Republican in living memory. Right? If the Democrats are to be believed, and the fact that Donald Trump filed lawsuits and contested the outcome is the same as there being no peaceful transfer. Because let's remember, when Biden was inaugurated, Trump packed his shit and left. Shook hands and walked away. Now, Trump has never conceded that he was legitimately defeated. And there's a reason. There's a reason for that. Because he wasn't legitimately defeated. But Hillary still maintains that Putin stole the election for Trump. And there's a big difference between those two things. Trump honestly believes that the election was stolen from him. Hillary Clinton does not honestly believe that the election was stolen from her. We know this categorically because we have all of the evidence that shows us beyond the reasonable doubt that Hillary Clinton and her campaign paid in a money laundering scheme through Perkins Coie law firm to fabricate all of the evidence that was used to launch the Russia hoax to begin with. The whole Russiagate hoax was a totally contrived mechanism of the Democrat Party. But you go back before that, and it's been 60 or 70 years now since the last time a Republican beat a Democrat for the White House without the Democrat Party filing suit. Every time in living memory that a Republican has won the White House from an incumbent Democrat, the Democrats have contested the election, filed suit to contest the election, and had articles of impeachment prepared against the incoming president before he was even inaugurated. Every single time. Now, obviously, they haven't actually impeached every Republican to be elected, but they have had the articles drafted and prepared to go to the floor of the House for the vote before the incoming Republican was elected every single time. They do not give a shit about a peaceful transfer of power. And this is just more evidence of that. Joe Biden is selling off the border wall. And guys, I'm talking like, I ain't gonna lie, I might be getting on the auction site and buying me some border wall after the show today, because if I can spend like $40 to put a privacy fence around my property, that's a no-brainer. That'd be hard to argue with, right? Y'all might come out here and find that Lowry's got his own new chicken city, and it looks a lot like the southern border. But all jokes aside, you talk about whether or not Biden has an interest in the border. I'll take this a step further. Let's take a look at this article for a minute. And so the Biden administration is reportedly spending its final weeks quietly clearing away unused southern border wall materials to put up for auction, a move characterized by some lawmakers as an apparent ploy to sabotage President-elect Donald Trump's goal to secure the U.S.-Mexico border. Alarming footage taken by a U.S. Customs agent captured numerous flatbed trucks hauling away dismantled sections of the steel wall near Tucson, Arizona, a hot spot for illegal crossings, with the agent estimating a half mile's worth of parts are being moved on the daily. They are taking it from three sections: Nogales, Tucson, and 3 Points. The agent, who spoke under the condition of anonymity, told the outlet. That's you got the people there in the porta potty for scale, so that you can see that's a big, long chunk of border wall. The goal is to move it all is to move all of it off the border before Christmas. The materials are being transported to Pinal Air Park in Marana, Arizona, where it's being sold through through GovPlanet, an online auction house specializing in military surplus, with bidding starting at just $5. Let's see if it takes us to the actual. Okay, that link doesn't actually go to the border wall itself; it just goes to the bidding site. Excuse me. Oh, but with bidding starting at just $5. I wish it said how much wall you get for $5. But frankly, even if you're talking about one section of bollard for $5, that's basically they're selling it dramatically below cost. I'd be amazed to learn that the individual sections cost less than $100 a piece. The materials were left unused following President Joe Biden's decision to stop the wall's construction and roll back Trump's immigration policies upon taking office in 2021, resulting in a massive surge of illegal immigrants and unaccompanied minors crossing the southern border. So let's take all that together for a minute. It is not just that Biden appears to be sabotaging Trump on his way out, right? We've talked about the numbers before, and Joe Biden has overseen absolutely the worst immigration crisis in U.S. history. There have been millions, and the estimates range between 11 million and 30 million hostile foreign invaders entering this country over the last 4 years. To put that in perspective, back in the 2020 election, there were concerns that Democrats were trying to make it possible and even legal for criminal aliens to be able to vote in the election. And back then that was a concern because the estimate was that there existed at the time roughly 11 million criminal aliens in the country. Roughly. That was a generous estimate. I believe that at that point in time, it was significantly higher than that. And my evidence to that claim would be the vehemence with which the Democrat Party opposed the inclusion of the citizenship question on the census. Now, fast forward to the 2024 election, and we covered this right before the election itself this year. The Social Security Agency, the Census Bureau had to release essentially an apology because they got the 2020 census so wrong. The 300 and some votes that electoral college votes that Donald Trump won by, that number includes Florida and I think it was 3 other traditionally red states who were undercounted between 2 and 3 electoral college votes. That's members of the House of Representatives per. California being overcounted by several, and the end result between several blue states being overcounted and several red states being undercounted, right, means that there were essentially somewhere between 10 and 20 electoral college votes, which had been misallocated between those states. And we already knew that California is enjoying somewhere between 5 and 8 additional representatives in the House and additional electoral college votes because they get to count their hostile foreign invaders as people, not citizens, but as people, for the purposes of the constitutionally defined apportionment of resources and representation. Right? So, when they tell you, why are you worried about illegal immigrants? Huh? They do the jobs we don't want to do for the pay we don't want. And it's not like they get government benefits. Okay, so what? They don't pay taxes. It's not like they get free health care. Yes, they do. Their children attend our public schools. They get food stamps. They get free health care. They get to use the free clinics. They get to drive on the roads. Even if they're doing it illegally, they benefit from the money that is taken from us involuntarily. That is who they are. That is what they do. Now, Cameron and I had a little bit of a dust-up on air the other day when I was talking about hostile foreign invaders and how we should treat them all as active participants in combat. And his rebuttal had to do with the idea that these people, by and large, these criminal aliens, they came here to benefit from what the U.S. offers. And I know you're watching, Cameron, and I don't mean to beat up on you while you're not here to defend yourself. And that's not what I mean to do here. But I kind of backed off so we could move on to the next topic the other day. But I was trying to make the point. Listen, I'm not making the claim that each of the hostile foreign invaders are in and of themselves evil people who are bent on destroying the country, right? I'm not saying that I'm not comparing them to Muslim terrorists that are explicitly coming to engage in acts of war against the United States. Their crossing into the border is an act of war, a war that's being conducted by hostile foreign entities, our enemy nations. The cartels and the like. Now, the cartels are a little bit different because what they're really trying to do is make money. But they make money by selling war and suffering and drugs and pain and children, quite frankly. But you've got the NGOs, you've got these large organizations that are organizing these people into the caravans, or even just sending them by onesies and twosies. Nobody's leaving Venezuela, for example, and walking up to the border in Texas or California. Right? Mario and I covered this in pretty substantial detail last week on a show where we talked about the evils of NGOs. But that's what's going on. Joe Biden has been absolutely complicit and active with those NGOs. And apparently, according to the evidence that we've managed to retrieve from the Hunter Biden laptop, has been complicit in organizing that with foreign entities like China, working directly against the interests of the United States of America. And, again, to that point, oh, damn it, I just clicked the wrong button. To that point, there. Let's not forget, one of the very first things that Joe Biden did when he took office was to shut down the border wall. That was one of his very first executive actions, was to shut down construction on the border wall. All of the material that's sitting there unused right now, never forget this. Your tax money was taken from you at gunpoint involuntarily already. And then Donald Trump decided to spend it on securing the border, which is a legitimate function of the United States government. Bought the material, began construction. Project was ongoing. When Biden took office, he shut that down, leaving all of the material that was purchased, billions of dollars worth of material that was purchased and manufactured for the purpose of building that border wall, and has left it sitting there in the elements essentially for the last 4 years. And now he's trying to sell it off, hoping he can slow down Trump's work to secure the border as he comes into office. President Joe Biden halted progress on the border wall as one of his first acts in office. President Joe Biden is canceling further construction of the wall along the U.S. and Mexico border, the Department of Defense announced Friday. This article is from April of 2021. DOD has begun taking all necessary action to cancel border barrier projects and to coordinate with interagency partners. Pentagon spokesperson Jamal Brown said in a statement, today's action reflects the administration's continued commitment to defending our nation and supporting our service members and their families. Okay. This right here, that sentence right there. After he said, we're taking down the border wall, we're ending border wall projects. He says today's action reflects this administration's continued commitment to defending our nation. What? In what way does laying down your shield signify an action which reflects a continued commitment to defense? Right? Imagine one of those nice big open arenas, and you've got knights with sword and board about to go toe to toe, and one of them just sheaths the sword, slings a shield on his back, and the announcer says, "Oh well, it looks like the White Knight is not giving up this fight." That is the exact opposite of what it looks like. Right? If everybody jumps out of the tanks and runs away, that in no way appears to be your armor line advancing on the enemy. Waller says he caught AIDS from that statement. That's excellent. I mean, but diversity is our strength. I once saw a suspension bridge built out of tomatoes and pasta noodles and straws and eggshells. It was diverse as hell. I mean, all kind of diversity up in that. Wouldn't want one that was built entirely out of steel cables and support structures, right? Maybe a little diversity, some asphalt, but. And then we can go and take a look at this. You remember just earlier this year, or I'm sorry, end of last year, the Texas AG had to sue the Biden administration. They had to sue the Biden administration over their border, over the enforcement of the border. The Biden administration actively sued and interfered and sent federal agents to destroy property in order to prevent the state of Texas from enforcing border security on our southern border. Now, you take all that and couple it with the fact that Biden put Alejandro Mayorkas in charge of the DHS and directly being in charge of the DHS, that put him in charge of ICE and Border Patrol. Really? That really? That's like bringing in Carlos Slim to run the FCC, or bringing in, let's bring the CEO of McDonald's in to run the FDA or HHS. Right? Think of the least qualified person you could possibly think of. And that's not who Biden looked for. He looked for somebody who was the opposite of qualified. Right? You think of a politician making a bad decision, and it's, that bad decision is something like, oh, well, you know what? My cousin doesn't like kids, never really been around them, isn't really good with them, and frankly, he smells funny and the kids hate him. So I'm going to bring him in as a babysitter. No. Not Mayorkas. This was Biden saying, you know what? I've got a whole maternity ward here that needs a security staff to make sure that nobody comes in and kidnaps the babies. I know. I'll hire P. Diddy and Epstein. Because that's who Mayorkas is. Mayorkas came to us from running NGOs that are actively working with cartels to facilitate human trafficking, drug trafficking. Hell, we might have actually been safer with Epstein running DHS instead of Mayorkas, because at least Epstein doesn't have a direct connection to the cartel, as far as we know. This is not just a case of Joe Biden pitching a temper tantrum and trying to sabotage the Trump administration on his way out the door. It is that, but it is not merely that. I do not see how an intelligent person can look at the data from the Biden administration and come to any conclusion other than the Biden administration and the majority of his appointees are actively complicit with the South American and Mexican cartels, specifically with their human trafficking and child trafficking operations. I mean, it really is that simple. You look at the function of the American welfare state. You look at the mechanical propaganda machine that is the Democrat outreach mechanism. You look at the active involvement that they have and apparent facilitation that they have with the cartels, especially, and how buddy old Biden is with places like China, and how much money has been funneled through the Biden administration and the Biden crime family from China into his pocket and the pocket of his family. It's difficult to come to any conclusion other than the Democrat Party is now and always has been the party of slavery. It is their bread and butter, and it never stopped being that. The abolition of vulgar chattel slavery in the United States was a blow to their industry, but it wasn't the end of it. Right? Quite frankly, I mean, all you really have to consider for the evidence of that is, during Obama's administration, the open air slave markets in Africa reopened. This isn't like a one-off. It happened in one or two places. No, it's a widespread problem there again. Right? There are more slaves. There are more people in slavery today than at any point in history, in world history. There are more slaves in the world today than at any point in history, because it's a multi-trillion-dollar business. That's where we're at. So, take this to the bank, guys. The Democrat Party is not now and never has been interested in a peaceful transfer of power. January 6th, January 20th are both going to be very interesting days news-wise. I won't be completely surprised if there are no fiery riots in D.C. at the Capitol on January 6th from the Democrats, because they are very good at messaging and getting orders out to the troops. And they are not done posturing and pretending about January 6, 2021. But I won't be totally surprised. It would be unusual to see a Republican inaugurated without at least some small skirmishes, if not full-scale riots from his detractors. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it right there, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. I appreciate y'all watching this morning. I apologize for the little mix-up. There was the landing page There was a little technical issue on the back end. I won't bore you with the details, but by the time it was time to go live, there was nothing else I could do about it. And I appreciate that y'all managed to find your way here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching. Cameron should be with us tomorrow morning. I'm not sure what we're talking about yet. If you've got any suggestions, hit me on X or Facebook, or send a message to the show at brushfiremind.com, or go to brushfiremind.com and click the contact us button there. Maybe buy some merch while you're there, or you can always leave a message. I will definitely see your suggestion if it comes attached to a cup of coffee through buymeacoffee.com/brushfiremind. But other than that, y'all, thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and I will see you tomorrow.